Hi guys, hope you're okay. Hope you've been having a superb week, and it's been a bit kind of like a bit of a mixed week for me. I had a whole issue with my house being artexed by some kids, but it kind of like it was a little bit more involved with, and that believe it on my roof as well. Anyway, that aside, I also had a migraine when I woke up this morning, and so one of the things I've always like, well, not always, but it's from about the year 99 or 2000, I suddenly started getting these like massive headaches, and I actually ended up going for MRI scans and stuff like that just to make sure that I wasn't getting sort of brain hemorrhage or something. But yeah, it just turns out it was actually migraines. And back in the day, I didn't really have medication to deal with it. So I used to just like really, really, truly suffer, and it wasn't nice. I was my brain would just be fried. My head would be fried. Uh, if anyone who's ever had like migraines, the only way I can maybe describe it is that when a few people I worked with had COVID, I think it was a few years ago, and they all described um, these horrible headaches that they were getting, and then inevitably you're working around people. Um, I got COVID, and that was a really interesting experience actually getting COVID because I was doing some reaction videos on my other channel. And it was crazy because it was a Sunday, and I was sort of sitting in there, and I was just saying, "Oh, my nose is getting a little bit sort of like weird and tight, and I can feel my sinuses are hurting a little bit. So I apologize if I don't sound as I usually do." And I did sort of some videos for a couple of hours, did about 5 or 6 different videos. And as I finished the videos, I started like getting the shakes, and it's like woo, it was going really hot, really cold, and I knew something was wrong. So I kind of like I took some Lemsip. I thought this is a cold. This was around about September last year. Um, oh no, it wasn't September last year. That was a different COVID. This was back in about 2021. Um, so yeah, I just took a little bit time out, and overnight it just got really, really bad with the shivers and the shakes. And then the next day, the headaches started to come. And I thought, oh, okay, headaches, and they went on for about sort of like 3 days. Um, but where everybody described these headaches as being absolutely like mentally bad, and for me it was just like a very, very mild migraine. So it was a bit of like a walk in a park, and I was a little bit smug about it because, um, I've been in the trenches with migraines for so many years that it's you kind of get used to it, and you sort of work through it sometimes. Um, I remember they used to last about 2 weeks as well when I first started getting them. And they always start from so, I mean, this video is reversed. So, they all start on my right side, which would be there, and that used to be the worst side. And then it would, then kind of like after about 3 or 4 days of having it there, it would then shift across to my left side, and it might only actually stay in that side for maybe a couple of days, but it was so intense that you just kind of want to curl up and die. Then it would shift to this side of my head, and this side would probably last for another week and a half, and but that side was just pure agony, and this side was just felt like always you got like a red hot poker that goes through your neck just into your eyeball, and that's how I would be for like 2 weeks, and then I would have a couple of weeks where I then feel okay again, and maybe I didn't always sort of get them in like a regular pattern, but it was regular enough that I didn't really kind of. If I had a month without a migraine, I'd be thinking, I've had a month without a migraine. This is really, really cool. I'm enjoying this. Then I'd get that feeling that one was coming on, and generally, what happens when a migraine's coming on is I get really tired, really lethargic, and I will sort of like sometimes my speech will kind of start slurring a little bit, and then I know I've got migraine coming on, and it's going to be a really bad one. So yeah, when I had these migraines to begin with, I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I went to see my doctor. My doctor sent me to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. They did some tests, and they tested all sorts of stuff. So I did quite a few day visits up there, um, and eventually I just ended up on medication. So the medication I take is really, really good. Um, but it never kind of, it never stopped it. But then weirdly, I think it was around about 2016. I had what was it now? I had severe pain just underneath my ribs, and I had a scan, and what the scan picked up was because I was still getting problems with it. No, actually, what happened was no, I was getting problems with my gut, and they were doing lots of different tests to find out, what was going on with it. Because one of the things that I used to get with a migraine was that once I get a migraine, I'd then bloat out like a puffer fish, and then after the migraine lifted, I'd feel like a lot of relief. I mean, I'm trying to be polite conversation here. A lot of relief down below, and then I'd feel amazing. I feel absolutely fine again. Um, and that was always the course of it. It seemed like, my brain was affecting my guts, and everything would just like literally go on strike. And it was so much discomfort, both there with the pain and there in my guts. Um, And that went on for ages. And then in 2016, they discovered that I had what they call incidental gallstones. Um, I had to do a bit of research just because, like, it was a bit of a shock because I went to have all these scans and stuff because they were looking for things like, they were looking for other things as well. I can't think, IBS and stuff like that, and conditions of a gut that could, be giving me like a lot of pain and that. And while they were doing it, they were doing lots of scans, and I can't think what it's called now. The ultrasound scan, is it? Yeah. And they discovered during that they had incidental gallstones. So a they called me back in to see a consultant, and they said now we've got the option now of taking your gallbladder out. So I said, well, okay. He said, but at the moment you've got incidental gallstones, but down the line a little bit, we can take your gallbladder out. So I thought, blimey, so I went away and like most people do, I jumped onto Google and said, because I thought, well, you know, I've had my tonsils out and now my gallbladder and all these little bits of my body, you know, I'm always of the opinion that what you've got inside your body sort of kind of like inside your torso, it kind of like it needs to be there for a reason. um but it, I mean, I'd been happy to entertain the gallbladder thing, but I wanted to first go on to Dr. Google and find out if there was any other options. So I spent a lot of time on Google looking at it, and then it was weird. Somebody suggested the way to they said basically once you get like little gallstones, even if there's really really small ones like and incidental, then what you can do is take a supplement, and what this supplement does is it kind of loosens up the bile acid. So I'm not quite sure where that process takes place. I did go into it in quite a lot of detail, but I'm going back sort of like 7-8 years now. Um, so essentially, your bile acid thickens up when you've got gallstones, and the bile acid is there to help dissolve the foods and get rid of that stuff. that can go, and we'll hang on to this stuff. You can use it in your body, and that is my sort of really sort of tin pot, um, sort of in a nutshell, what I think that's what the bile acid does. Might be wrong, but it seemed to make sense. So I started taking beetroot extract as it was, and I didn't really notice anything immediately at first. Also, they said take magnesium as well along with it because the magnesium helps break down gallstones. And I didn't know how effective any of this was, so I decided to take the beetroot extract and the magnesium, and yeah, what I noticed, not at first, but what I noticed over a period of time, sort of probably about 6 months, I thought to myself, well, I haven't had a migraine for 2 months, and that was kind of the pattern then. And I think I actually went about sort of 4 or 5 months without having a migraine. I hadn't really changed my diet as such. I like the foods I like. I'm a little bit more careful these days because I've had, I had cholesterol issues as well. Um, but yeah, so I didn't change. So, and I wasn't getting migraines. So I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe the the really bad migraines I was getting might have been due to having these incidental gallstones. I remember my consultant, and this is something I was really surprised about. He said the you can have incidental gallstones for like a decade or so before you actually even noticed that they're a problem, and it's only shifting in them that gives you the pain, which is a weird pain. It's like someone jabbing you just underneath your ribs. Um, essentially, I think the beetroot extract and the magnesium, but more probably the beetroot extract, actually helped alleviate my migraines. But still, I get migraines now. I woke up with one this morning. I had a lot of stress yesterday, um, and sometimes stress brings it on. Sometimes it's food. But I do try to take magnesium once a day and beetroot extract with every meal, so probably twice a day, and hopefully that helps. For the most part, it does sort of keep me migraine free. But yeah, this morning I had one, and what will probably happen because it was quite a nasty one, it might sort of shift a little bit. Um, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, onto my left side. Maybe for a day or two, then it goes. So it's nothing like what it used to be, and I'm really glad about that. I mean, my goodness, I remember studying for college and then a degree, and having to do that with these full-on migraines, and um, and I'll tell you another thing about migraine actually, because I wasn't intending to. I wasn't intending to bring in the gambling with this, but one of the things that actually happens, and I don't know whether this is a medication I say or whether this is just a migraine. One of the things I actually noticed was that the at the point when a migraine goes after that side and then that side, um, I have um, I have these kind of like moments where I don't know if you've ever seen what was the film called now? I have to think what it's called. It had Bradley Cooper in, and oh shit, I'm gonna have to get. I'll have to Google this actually. Let me just Google this. Bradley Cooper, Bradley Cooper. You probably know which film I'm about to say anyway, but I've got to know the name of it. This is like I feel like I'm senile sometimes and I can't remember the name of something. Bradley Cooper, not Bradley Wiggins or Bradley Walsh. Bradley Cooper, that's one. Movies. And it's actually one of my favourite movies as well. I'm not sure why. There's something about it that has really sort of gripped me. Limitless, that's what it was called. So in Limitless, when he first takes his little pill that his ex brother-in-law, I think it was, gives him. nothing really happens at first, and then all of a sudden, it's like all these neurons in his brain start to fire, and he's able to access all the information kind of like at once that he's ever had, and and that is the closest way of describing kind of what happens when my migraine lifts. Because I can go through like uh maybe sometimes it's a week, yeah, or last, but it's nothing like it used to be. I can go through like a week of sort of discomfort, and I get life done. And then all of a sudden it lifts, and it's like literally every neuron in my head starts firing. And what I find is that obviously in any I get in a lot of jobs you're answerable to, there's people, your colleagues, there's people, there's management, there's all sorts of people you're answerable to, I'm I'm fairly good at answering to people, doing my job, getting on with stuff. But what generally happens after my migraine lifts is I have these just it's just mental, and whether it's delusional, it causes delusion, I don't know. But it's like I am I am sort of my I've got a better brain than anyone else, and all the information is like there, and I can see issues where I might not have been able to figure them out. And it's just moments of real clarity, and that can bring like real sort of frustration because nobody's listening to me. Um, and this does actually sound deluded as I'm saying it, and so that's kind of what generally happens when I get migraines and when they're clear. And it has caused me a lot of problems. I even went for kind of well, I tried to get some counselling to see, maybe tests to see if I was like bipolar or something like that, because I'd have like amazing just like highs, euphoric, and then the lows would come with depression, and then I'd sort of flatline, and I'd be okay then, and then then a migraine might come on again, and then the whole kind of thing would start all over again. And one of the things I also noticed was that when I have these clear moments, when I'm feeling like really, really good, it's that's when I've always kind of like I I I I go back to that period that most people go through where they have no self-control sort of thing. A lot of it happens. I mean, so I'm wondering, to cut long story short, whether maybe the medication I'm on, or maybe the neurological process of migraine kind of shifting and ceasing somehow affects my prefrontal cortex, which is I think it's prefrontal lobes, frontal lobes, yeah, that control the control sort of behavior planning, impulse, stuff like that. I'm wondering whether that plays a big part in gambling. I would like to, you know, um, and it's just, I mean, sometimes it's coincidental. I don't automatically rush down to a bookmaker's when I'm feeling that euphoric moment, because sometimes I can find something creative to do as well. And again, that kind of really, really helps to to actually just channel it into something that isn't gonna cause friction with people, that isn't going to cause a deficit to me, and it's just something that I can indulge in, and with fantastic clarity, and yeah, I wish I had this kind of clarity all of the time, to be honest, because I could probably get quite a lot done. I did start doing a lot of writing a few years back, and yeah, like life just kind of catches you, and you just some of these things sometimes just like stop a little bit, you know, um, and because I don't get migraines so much now, I'm more sort of like calm, and it's weird. It's a bit like a drug in itself, because the clarity and euphoria that I'd feel, um, was absolutely amazing. If someone says to me, "Right now, write a 500 write a sort of, I don't know, a 5,000 page story," I would have just like got there and started tapping away. A little bit like the character in in Limitless, but yeah, it doesn't really kind of happen like that these days, and I'm just kind of, I have a migraine, it lasts a very short time, and then I have a little bit of residual migraine, and then that goes, and then kind of back to normal. But I do still get like a little bit of euphoria that lasts for a little while. I'm very aware of that now, and I generally kind of like sort of have to pinch myself to say, look, okay, you don't need to open your mouth because you think you know something. Just keep it to yourself. Take 2 steps back, and try and be a bit kind of calm with people. Don't be too um, presumptuous about your intelligence because you're feeling good. It's kind of one of those things because I don't generally consider myself um, that intelligent. I mean, I work around people who are just like, it's like the ideas that they have, and it's every day, and they're just, their intelligence to me is some of them. It's like off a scale. I'm thinking, my God, I just wish I could inhabit your brain for like an hour or something just to get the vibes from you. Um, So yeah, I mean that's my migraines in a nutshell. And the interesting thing with migraines is that if you talk to 100 people about what triggers a migraine, what the process is with migraine, what the physical effects are of a migraine on them, all sorts of things, you'll get 100 different answers. It's a complete enigma. I would love, I wonder if anyone's ever done any sort of like proper brain scans of when people have the onset of a migraine. Um, that would be really interesting. Because I mean, if you was to throw me into I don't know, a clinical setting, clinical test setting for a month, I'm pretty sure that I could sort of trigger the migraine. Just give me a half a loaf of bread to eat. That would probably do the trick. Or a packet of pasta maybe. It's weird stuff like that would probably trigger me. I'm not allergic to bread or anything like that, but I do know that I find it harder to process that kind of stuff. I mean, bread these days is pretty. It's not. It's pretty crappy. To be honest, unless you make it yourself, and even then, the flour that you're using is probably full of stuff. Unless you find that obscure kind of like flour that is, completely free of all these weird additives, that preservatives and stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day. Again, I'm sort of transgressing from migraines to bread. But I remember back in the day, if my mum bought a loaf of bread, it literally within a day it starts to go mouldy unless it's all eaten sort of thing. Unless she was just buying knackered bread, who knows? Um, anyway, so uh, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's 23 minutes. These are getting longer and longer. These videos. I only meant to be doing 5-minute videos. And But yeah, I'm feeling quite good tonight, so it's good time to stop before the euphoria hits and then the dip hits. Maybe I am entering a euphoric moment now. Who knows? So you know what? Just take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow.